Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel and happy first day of autumn. Obviously I'm so excited. So to celebrate the beginning of a new season, I thought what a better video to share with you guys than my fall TBR. Obviously my fall TBR is my favorite TBR. Do you mind? We have a visitor. Of course, it is Miss Weenie. As I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, obviously my fall TBR video is my favorite TBR that I get to share with you guys every single year, so I'm very excited to go through the 12-ish books that I have on my TBR for the next 3 months. I do have primarily fantasy on this TBR. I love reading fantasy in the fall time, so I do have quite a lot of those, but I do have some other books as well. I have actually, it's just one new release. I have one new release that I'm going to share as well. So let's just get into it. I think I'm going to start out by talking about my non-fantasy books, and then we'll get into the rest of them. So the first book that I want to share with you guys is probably the book that I'm the most excited about and the book that I'm the most happy that I finally have my hands on. And that is If It Makes You Happy by Julie Olivia. This is a very obviously autumnal romance book that came out in the beginning of September. I'd seen it around everywhere. So many people were saying, you know, it had the perfect 90s rom-com vibes. It's very Gilmore Girls without it being too much like Gilmore Girls. So I believe in this book we are following our main character Michelle, who has to move to this small town to run the B&B that her parents used to run. And obviously while she's there, in true rom-com fashion, it turns out she lives next to a hot single dad. And I think we're kind of seeing them grow closer. I think our main character Michelle is a little bit, you know, standoffish a little bit, and our other main character Cliff is very much not. So I think their personalities definitely clash a little bit, but obviously romance will ensue, and I am so excited. I mean, look at this beautiful fall cover. How could I not want to read this? You know what I'm saying? Then next up, I do have a little bit of a mystery, which I cannot wait to get into, and that is The Body in the Library by Agatha Christie. This is the second book in the Miss Marple series. I read The Murder at the Vicarage last month. I liked it a lot. It's probably my favorite Agatha Christie that I've read so far. So I've been wanting to continue the Miss Marple series, and I found The Body in the Library when I went to Half Price last week. So it was kind of perfect, honestly. This is also a very short book. It's only 200 pages. So I feel like I'll definitely be able to read this fall. And I believe in this one, the title is very self-explanatory. I'm pretty sure we're following Miss Marple as she solves a murder surrounding a body that was found in a library. Who's shocked? No one. But I feel like Agatha Christie is not only the queen of the murder mystery, but she's the queen of the cozy murder mystery. So I cannot wait to jump into this one. I also would like to read Halloween Party this fall as well. I know I've put that on a couple of fall TBRs, which is why I have not brought down my copy of it to show you again. But I'd like to read both that one and this one in October if I can. Then next up I have another very cozy book that I'm so excited for, and that is The Late Night Witches by Orly Wallace. Again, look at this beautiful autumnal cover. So cute. Obviously I had to get a physical copy. But this is from the same author who wrote In the Company of Witches and whatever the second one's called. The Evenfall Witches B&B mystery series. She wrote those two books. So when I saw she had this book coming out, I was like, absolutely. I need to read it. This honestly seems like the perfect book to read in the lead up to Halloween. I mean, the front of it literally says, there's a lot at stake this Halloween. And I believe we're following our main character Cassie, who is a witch. She lives on Prince Edward Island, which I'm obviously very much into. Says at least the gorgeous, foggy Prince Edward Island is always quiet. That is, until the vampires arrive. I wasn't expecting that. Who was expecting that? But I think, you know, witches learning how to stake vampires in the lead up to Halloween. Tell me a more Katie sounding book. I don't know if you could, honestly. But it sounds so cozy. I trust Orly Wallace to give me a cozy book, so I cannot wait to read this one in late October. Now we can move on into my more fantasy leaning reads. I do have 3 YA fantasy books that I'm very excited to get to this fall. The first one is the last book in a trilogy that I'm very excited to finish up. I read the first one in November of 2023. I read the second in November of 2024. So guess what book I'm reading in November of 2025. That's right, I'm reading Dreams of Gods and Monsters by Laini Taylor. This is the final book in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy. It hasn't, up until this point, really been a favorite series of mine. However, I'm determined to finish it because I absolutely love the Strange the Dreamer duology by Laini Taylor, so obviously I wanted to read her only other series that she has out. And this one is a really interesting one. In the beginning of the series, it feels very typical YA for the time. I think the series maybe started coming out in like 2010-ish. But as you get further into the series, it definitely becomes its own thing. It definitely leans a little bit more heavily into the politics of this world. There's a lot of war and fighting and all of this stuff going on. So I think it's a really solid YA series. It's not a favorite of mine, but I do really like it. And in the first book, we are following our main character, Karou, who works for these creatures that are called the Chimera, and she's basically like an errand girl for them. So in the beginning of the series, you kind of see her as she is out on these missions to collect teeth from certain animals, and on one of these missions she ends up running into this guy. I can't remember what his name is to save my life, but I do believe he is an angel, and for that specific reason I imagine his character as Angel from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Is he a vampire? Obviously no, but for some reason David Boreanaz is always coming to my mind when I'm reading this book. That's not the point, but I do think it's a little bit funny. But obviously, you know, they have a little bit of a romance. There's like a little stuff going on between them, as well as this kind of like grander thing that's going on in the background. I feel like I've not done a good job at explaining the series at all. But for certain reasons, I feel like I can only tell you so much about the series. But it's been an interesting ride so far. Again, not a favorite, but I definitely would like to finish up the series. And then I have a new released YA standalone that I'm really excited to get into, and that is A Treachery of Swans by A.B. Poranek. This book is giving me the perfect gothic, dark, spooky November vibes, honestly, so I will be reading this in November. But this is from the same author that wrote Where the Dark Stands Still, which I read earlier this year and really enjoyed. So I've been highly anticipating this one. I believe it is a little bit of a Swan Lake retelling, hence the swan on the back of this book. But it says, can two girls, one enchanted and one the enchantress, save their kingdom and each other? That is what we're going to be figuring out, my friends. Sounds like a really good late fall read. I have faith that the writing is going to be stunning because I really enjoyed the writing in Where the Dark Stands Still as well. And I cannot wait to see just what I think of this one. And then I do have another YA book that is not out yet. I do believe it comes out on October 28th, maybe? And that is Hazelwood by C.G. Drews. I read Don't Let the Forest In last week. Absolutely loved it. It was just so good. Such a good YA horror book. So I've been really excited that C.G. Drews has another book coming out so soon. And I believe in this one we're following a main character who inherits a mansion, and apparently there is this garden in the mansion that bites back in some capacity. And I love botanical horror. I love the thoughts of, you know, like something so natural, so normal turning on you in that way. I think there's also a queer romance going on in this book as well, and I just have faith that C.G. Drews will deliver me the perfect late October spooky atmospheric read. I feel like it's gonna be so good and I cannot wait to read this one. Then pivoting to some like adult fantasy. The first one I'm really excited about because again, in the same half price strip that I found, The Body in the Library, I found another book that I've been looking for quite a while. Honestly, it was such an elite half price strip. I think it was because me and Cass were together when we went to half price and like the secondhand book gods were on our side, honestly. But I found a copy of Poison Study by Maria V. Snyder. This is, I believe it was written in like 2005 maybe, so a little old, you know, she's a little bit older. And I believe we're following a main character who is about to be executed for murder, but they end up offering her like this kind of, in exchange, you can either like die or do this thing. So obviously she's gonna do this thing where she is going to become a royal taste tester, where she is basically, you know, trying food before the king and queen eat it to make sure it's not poison. So we're following her as she has gotten herself into this predicament. Whether or not she actually committed this murder, my money's on no. But I think it would be more interesting if she actually did commit the murder. Very interested to just get into this one and, you know, see all about that. But I think as the book progresses, you watch her kind of, you know, try and get out of the situation, obviously. I think she also ends up, you know, developing magical powers in some capacity. So I just have many questions about this book. Many things that I would like answered. So I can't wait to jump into this one. I've also just heard really good things about this series. I've been recommended this a couple of times. I think there's also maybe a little bit of a romance going on in the background as well, which I can obviously get into, and I do believe this is a part of a series. I think it's at least 4 books, maybe 5. I don't know, but hopefully I like this one. Then I do have another kind of, you know, fantasy romance leaning sort of book, and that is The Exorcism of Fairies by J.L. Vampa. I've seen a couple of people read this one, give it pretty decent reviews, so I was like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna have to pick it up. I mean, even just based on the title, I was like, I want to give this book a try at least, because it's a dark academia romance involving fae. I mean, come on. Doesn't it sound so good? I feel like the back honestly describes this better than I could. It says she is the daughter of morticians studying botany at Trinity College in Dublin. He is a professor of morbid anatomy, and the fae are possessing the good people of Dublin with flora. It just sounds so good. I'm so excited to get into this one. I feel like this is gonna be like a dark version of Emily Wilde. Not exactly like plot-wise, but like vibe-wise. You know what I mean? So I'm very excited to just see what I think of this one. I haven't seen a ton of people read it, but the people that I have seen read it really enjoyed it. So probably gonna read this one in November. Again, it's giving me November vibes. Then the last book that I have on my TBR is another book that I found at half price that I've been meaning to get for a really long time. So again, stunning half price trip. But I finally have a copy of Pure Nessie by Susanette Clark. This is a book that's been on my radar for so long. I've checked it out from the library a couple of times and I've never actually managed to read it. This is a book that I've definitely heard mixed reviews on. I feel like people either really like it or they really don't like it. But I've been recommended this book a couple of times and I really wanted to try it out. I've also just really been wanting to read either of Susanna Clark's main books, and it was either this one or her like 1,000-page book. So I thought this would be a good starting place. But I believe in this one we're following a character who is trapped in this house that is very like labyrinthine? How do you say that word? I don't know. But it says it's no ordinary building. Its rooms are infinite, its corridors endless, and its walls are lined with thousands upon thousands of statues, each one different from all of the others. So I think we're just following the main characters, they, you know, trying to get out of the situation. I feel like it's very dreamlike, very weird, but I tend to like books like that, so I have faith that I'm going to enjoy this book. Also, Erin Morgenstern blurbed it, and I trust Erin Morgenstern with my life, honestly. So, and Madeline Miller. So like two authors who I would honestly implicitly trust with a book recommendation. So there we go. Really excited to read Pure Nessie. This one's kind of giving me maybe like December vibes, maybe. I don't know, just something about it, but I'm very intrigued to see what I think of this one. So those are the books that I decided to put on my fall TBR. I didn't want to put too many on there because I feel like when my seasonal TBRs get too large, I just never actually do them. But I feel like I have a good selection here. Not too many, but they're all books that I'm definitely very excited about. Obviously, this video begs the question, what are some books that are on your fall TBR? Do we share any books on our fall TBRs? I would love to know if we have some overlap. Before we go, I would like to thank everybody over on my Patreon. If you're ever looking for more content from me, that is always linked down below. But with that, I'm gonna let you guys go. I hope you're all having a stunning first day of fall. Happy autumn. The best time of the year is here. I'm so excited. I hope you guys are excited as well. And I will see you all in my next video. Bye!